Often people will know that they have a problem with the ATO, but they don't know where to start or who to go to. In this video, I will try to explain the process that I step through with clients to understand what the actual key issue is, which will then help inform clients to be able to deal with the right area of the ATO sooner and hopefully more quickly deal with their dispute. The first question to ask is, 1, do you disagree with how the ATO has calculated the tax you owe? Or 2, do you disagree or do you have issues with having to pay the amount of tax the ATO says you owe? Let's start with number 1. If you disagree with how the ATO has calculated what you owe, then the first step is to know whether or not the amount that the ATO says you owe is based on what you have reported that you owe, or whether it's an amount that the ATO has come up with, generally as the result of an audit. If it is an amount that you previously said you owe, because you or your agent lodged the return that said that, and you subsequently think that that amount is wrong or should be revised, then you can speak to your accountant to see if you're within time to lodge an amendment with the ATO. If you're out of time or the ATO has audited you and come up with another figure, then the next step would be to consider lodging an objection. An objection is another internal dispute mechanism in the ATO that allows you to reconsider the audit decision afresh and allow you to put fresh evidence forward. If you have not yet lodged, but you anticipate when you lodge the ATO might disagree with how you've calculated your tax liability, if you want to avoid the potential of receiving any penalties if the ATO does disagree with you, there might be the option of lodging what's called a private binding ruling request. This is a request that you send to the ATO that sets out the circumstances of whatever arrangement you have and getting the ATO to issue a ruling on how the tax law will apply, which gives you certainty of what the tax treatment should be. But also, if you disagree with that ruling, gives you an opportunity to dispute that again through an objection process to get that clarity before potentially lodging the returns. In these circumstances, it is best to seek legal advice in terms of how to frame your binding ruling application. Going back to number 2, where you don't disagree with what they've calculated, but you disagree or you are having issues with paying what the ATO says you owe. If the ATO says you owe a debt and you're not disputing how they've quantified the debt, the first step is to figure out where in the process you are with the ATO's debt recovery. If you're in the early stages where the ATO is either sending you text messages or reminder letters, this is the best time to engage with the ATO. We would recommend that either you or your accountant work with the ATO either through writing through the portal or calling them on the line to try to set up an arrangement, because this is the time where the ATO will generally show the most flexibility in allowing you to either pay by installments or potentially get any remission of interest charges. The request to get this leniency gets more difficult the longer the debt remains outstanding. If the ATO has progressed to sending a garnishee notice or a director penalty notice, there is a different area of their office that deals with these debt collection processes and firmer actions, and often their correspondence will have a different contact number. So it's important that if you want to engage with the ATO, which is important to do, that you can actually deal with them through that direct contact number, and they'd be best positioned to deal with your debt dispute. If the ATO has then moved on to a legal proceeding, either to wind up the company or to obtain judgment or bankruptcy, then it is best to get legal advice for representing you during this process to see if there are further options. On top of that, there might be some additional options for you to consider. For example, in certain situations for individuals who owe certain tax types, namely income tax, if you're in a significant financial hardship, there might be options to get the debt released. This has been a broad overview on the various options available to you if the ATO is trying to recover funds. However, there are often a number of other discrete opportunities available to you. If you find yourself in a position where you are struggling to engage with the ATO or require assistance, please contact Aptum for advice.